The night rests gently over the open Atlantic, stretching endlessly in every direction, as the great ship moves forward so smoothly that the water barely seems disturbed, allowing the world to feel wide, quiet, and unchanging. The Titanic glides through the dark sea with a calm confidence, its lights glowing softly against the black water, reflections drifting and breaking slowly with each subtle movement, never sharp, never sudden, only steady and reassuring. Above the decks, the sky is described by countless stars, scattered quietly across the darkness, their light distant and unhurried, offering no signal and no urgency, simply existing as they always have. Inside the ship, the day has fully released its hold, and the gentle routines of evening have come to an end, leaving behind softly lit corridors, closed cabin doors, and a growing stillness that settles deeper with every passing moment. Passengers rest in their cabins, bodies heavy and relaxed, breathing slow and even, wrapped in familiar blankets and quiet thoughts that drift gently before dissolving, never fully forming into dreams. The sound of the engines is distant and consistent, a low, steady hum that does not call attention to itself, repeating endlessly in the background, creating a rhythm that feels dependable and calming. Along the hallways, carpets soften footsteps until movement becomes nearly silent, while lamps cast warm pools of light that fade gradually into shadow, allowing edges to blur and details to lose importance. The air inside the ship feels balanced and still, neither warm nor cool, resting comfortably against skin and fabric, as though it has found the exact state it was meant to reach for the night. Somewhere on an upper deck, the breeze moves gently, brushing against railings and lifeboats without sound, then slipping away again into the darkness, unnoticed and unremarked. The ocean remains calm beneath the ship, its surface smooth and dark, carrying the vessel forward without resistance, as though the sea itself has settled into rest. Time begins to feel different here, no longer measured by clocks or schedules, but by the slow, even passing of breath, by the steady hum of motion, by the quiet certainty that nothing needs attention. Awareness softens naturally, releasing the details of the day, allowing the mind to loosen its grip and drift gently into stillness, supported by the calm that fills every corner of the ship. Nothing feels fragile in this moment. Nothing feels uncertain, because everything rests within the familiar pattern of another peaceful night at sea. The Titanic continues forward, smooth and steady, unaware of history, unaware of memory, existing only in this quiet moment of calm and rest, and the night stretches on, wide and unbroken, holding the ship gently as sleep deepens. As the night deepens across the open sea, the Titanic seems to move not through water but through stillness itself, gliding forward so smoothly that the sensation of motion fades into something almost imagined, leaving behind only a quiet sense of continuation. The stars above remain steady and distant, scattered across the sky without pattern or urgency, their light reaching the decks softly, never demanding attention, never changing, simply present as they have always been. Inside the ship, the corridors grow quieter with each passing moment as the last sounds of movement fade away, and doors remain closed, holding warmth and rest inside the private spaces where passengers sleep. Cabins feel enclosed and calm, insulated from the vastness outside, with curtains drawn, lamps turned low, and the gentle rhythm of the ship providing a sense of security that does not need to be questioned. Breathing slows naturally in the quiet, becoming deeper and more even, as bodies settle fully into mattresses and blankets, supported by the steady environment around them. The hum of the engines continues without variation, low and consistent, blending so completely into the background that it no longer registers as sound, but as a constant presence that reassures without effort. Footsteps are no longer heard along the decks, and even the creak of the ship's structure feels softened, as though the vessel itself has relaxed into the night. The ocean remains calm beneath the hull, its surface smooth and dark, carrying the ship forward with no resistance, reflecting only faint traces of light before absorbing them back into silence. Air moves gently along the open decks, cool but not cold, brushing against railings and lifeboats before drifting away again, unnoticed and unremarked. Time begins to stretch here, losing its usual shape, no longer divided into minutes or hours, but flowing gently alongside the ship, unmeasured and unhurried. Thoughts become slower and less distinct, drifting through the mind without direction, dissolving before they can take form, leaving behind only a soft sense of ease. Nothing aboard the Titanic feels urgent or incomplete in this moment, because everything follows the familiar rhythm of another quiet night at sea. The ship continues onward, steady and confident, holding its passengers in calm and rest, unaware of what lies ahead, existing only in the deep quiet of the present. The night remains wide and open, surrounding the ship gently, allowing sleep to deepen further without interruption. As the night continues to unfold across the open Atlantic, without marking itself in any noticeable way, the Titanic feels increasingly separated from the idea of the outside world, moving forward through darkness, so complete and calm that the boundary between sea, sky, and ship begins to soften and lose its meaning. The stars remain fixed above, distant and unmoving, their light faint yet steady, offering no guidance and no signal, simply existing far beyond the decks, far beyond the awareness of those resting below, as they have done for countless nights before this one. Inside the ship, stillness has settled deeply into every corridor and cabin, resting against polished wood and soft fabrics, allowing spaces once filled with quiet conversation and gentle movement to now feel entirely at ease, as though they have exhaled and found their natural resting state. Passengers lie heavy and comfortable in their beds, breathing slow, and even wrapped in blankets that rise and fall gently with each breath, minds drifting through indistinct impressions that never fully form into dreams, dissolving quietly into rest before taking shape. The low, steady hum of the engines continues without change, a sound so constant and reliable that it no longer feels like sound at all, but like a soft foundation beneath everything else, holding the ship and its passengers in a reassuring rhythm that requires no attention. Along the decks, the air feels cool and clean, brushing lightly against railings and lifeboats before slipping away again into the darkness, leaving behind no trace of its movement, only the sense that it has passed. The ocean beneath the hull remains calm and dark, its surface smooth and unbroken, carrying the Titanic forward with a patience that feels endless, absorbing reflections of light and releasing them again without disturbance. Time continues to stretch and thin, no longer behaving as a sequence of moments, but as a wide, open presence that moves alongside the ship, unmeasured and unhurried, allowing everything within it to slow naturally. Thoughts grow faint and incomplete, appearing briefly before fading away, leaving behind no questions and no need for answers, as awareness loosens its grip on detail and definition. The ship itself feels settled and balanced, its structure responding gently to the water beneath it, not with creaks or groans, but with a quiet steadiness that suggests confidence and ease. Curtains remain drawn, lamps remain low, and doors remain closed, holding warmth and stillness inside, creating small private worlds of rest that feel insulated from the vast darkness beyond. Nothing aboard the Titanic feels fragile or uncertain in this moment, because everything rests within the familiar pattern of another peaceful night at sea, one that feels complete and undisturbed. Breathing continues to slow, each inhale arriving fully before releasing, each exhale easing the body further into rest, guided naturally by the calm that fills every corner of the ship. The mind drifts further from the present, no longer following thoughts or sensations, allowing everything to merge into a single, gentle experience of stillness. The ship continues forward, smooth and steady, existing only in this quiet moment, unaware of history, unaware of memory, carried gently by the calm sea beneath it. The night stretches on, wide and unbroken, holding the Titanic softly as sleep deepens further and further. As the night stretches onward without any sign of transition, the Titanic feels as though it has settled into a perfectly balanced state, moving forward through the dark ocean with such smooth certainty that the sensation of travel fades completely, leaving only the quiet impression of gentle continuation. Darkness surrounds the ship evenly now, not pressing in or enclosing, but resting everywhere at once, along the decks across the open sea and above in the wide sky, until there is no clear distinction between where one ends and another begins. Inside the ship, sleep has deepened further, becoming steady and unbroken, as bodies lie fully relaxed in their cabins, breathing slow and even, supported by familiar beds and soft fabrics that rise and fall gently with each quiet breath. The air within the corridors feels settled and still, resting against polished wood and closed doors without movement, as though it has found the exact condition it was meant to reach for the night. The hum of the engines continues unchanged, low and consistent, no longer noticeable as a sound, but present as a constant reassurance beneath everything else, holding the rhythm of the ship steady and calm. Time feels wide and unmeasured here, no longer divided into hours or moments, but stretching into a soft, continuous presence that moves alongside the ship without urgency or direction. Thoughts become increasingly faint, no longer forming into images or ideas, but drifting briefly before dissolving completely, leaving behind only a quiet sense of ease. On the open decks the breeze moves gently, brushing against railings and lifeboats with no sound at all, then slipping away again into the night, unnoticed and unremarked. The ocean beneath remains smooth and dark, carrying the Titanic forward with no resistance, reflecting faint traces of light before absorbing them back into stillness. Curtains remain drawn in cabins throughout the ship, lamps turned low or extinguished entirely, allowing shadows to soften and edges to blur, creating spaces that feel enclosed, calm, and deeply restful. Nothing aboard the Titanic suggests change or disruption, nothing calls for attention, and nothing interrupts the steady stillness that holds the ship in place. Breathing continues naturally, each inhale arriving fully before releasing, each exhale easing the body further into rest, guided effortlessly by the calm environment. Awareness drifts lower still, no longer separating sound from silence or movement from stillness, allowing everything to merge into a single gentle experience of quiet. The ship feels confident and balanced, responding to the water beneath it with ease, as though it has settled perfectly into its course. The night remains wide and open, surrounding the Titanic gently, allowing rest to deepen further without interruption. As the night continues without any indication of change, the Titanic feels entirely removed from the idea of urgency, moving forward through the calm Atlantic in a way that no longer feels like motion at all, but like a quiet agreement between ship and sea to remain steady and untroubled. Darkness now feels complete and familiar, resting gently across the decks and along the corridors inside cabins and over the open water, until it no longer feels like something that surrounds the ship, but something that the ship itself has become. Inside the cabins, sleep has reached a depth where the body no longer shifts or responds, breathing slow, and even rising and falling in a steady rhythm that requires no attention as the mind drifts far from thought and sensation. The air remains perfectly still, balanced between warmth and coolness, resting against fabric and polished wood without movement, as though it has found the exact state it has been quietly approaching since evening. The low hum of the engines continues unchanged, so constant and dependable that it no longer registers as sound, but as a soft foundation beneath everything else, supporting the quiet of the ship without effort. Time has lost all structure here, no longer divided into minutes or hours, but stretching into a wide open presence where nothing advances and nothing recedes, allowing rest to deepen naturally. On the open decks, the breeze moves so lightly that it barely touches the railings and lifeboats, passing through without sound, without trace, leaving behind only the sense that the air itself is breathing. The ocean beneath the hull remains smooth and patient, carrying the Titanic forward without resistance, absorbing reflections of light and releasing them again slowly, without disturbance. Thoughts no longer form clearly, appearing only as faint impressions that dissolve before they can be named, leaving the mind quiet and unoccupied. Curtains remain drawn throughout the ship, lamps remain low or extinguished, and doorways remain closed, holding warmth and stillness inside private spaces that feel safe and contained. Nothing aboard the Titanic feels fragile or uncertain in this moment, because everything rests within the familiar rhythm of another peaceful night at sea, one that feels complete and undisturbed. Breathing continues steadily, each inhale arriving fully before releasing, each exhale easing the body deeper into rest, guided naturally by the calm that fills every corner of the ship. Awareness drifts lower still, no longer separating sound from silence or motion from stillness, allowing everything to blend into a single, gentle experience of calm. The ship remains confident and balanced, responding smoothly to the water beneath it, as though it has settled perfectly into its course and has no need to adjust. The night stretches on, wide and unbroken, holding the Titanic softly as sleep deepens further and further. As the night continues without marking itself in any visible way, the Titanic rests in a state so deeply settled that the idea of direction, distance, or destination no longer feels relevant, as though the ship has slipped gently into a quiet space where movement exists without sensation and time exists without measure. Darkness remains even and complete, resting across the open sea and along the decks, within corridors and cabins, until the boundary between ship and night feels softened and indistinct, creating a single continuous presence of calm. Breathing continues slowly and naturally, each breath arriving fully and leaving gently, without effort or awareness, as the body rests so deeply that its weight and shape no longer demand attention, supported entirely by stillness. Inside the cabins, sleep has reached its most peaceful depth, where the mind no longer forms thoughts or images, and awareness rests so low that it barely feels present at all, leaving behind only a quiet sense of ease. The air feels perfectly balanced, neither warm nor cool, resting against fabric and polished wood without movement, as though it has found the exact condition it was meant to reach for the night. The steady hum of the engines continues unchanged, so constant and reassuring that it no longer feels like sound, but like a gentle foundation beneath everything else, holding the ship and its passengers in quiet rhythm. Time has dissolved into something wide and undefined, no longer moving forward or backward, but simply existing as a soft, continuous presence where moments do not follow one another, but blend together without edges. On the open decks, the breeze passes lightly and without sound, brushing against railings and lifeboats before slipping away again into the darkness, unnoticed and unremarked. The ocean beneath the hull remains smooth and patient, carrying the ship forward with no resistance, reflecting faint traces of light before absorbing them back into stillness. Thoughts no longer appear, and if they do, they fade before forming, leaving the mind quiet, empty, and unoccupied, free of effort or intention. Curtains remain drawn throughout the ship, lamps remain low or extinguished, and doorways remain closed, holding warmth and stillness inside private spaces that feel safe and contained. Nothing aboard the Titanic suggests change or disruption. Nothing calls for attention, and nothing interrupts the deep calm that holds everything in place. Breathing continues, slow and even, each cycle gently reinforcing the stillness that surrounds everything, allowing rest to deepen further without resistance. The ship feels balanced and steady, responding smoothly to the water beneath it, as though it has settled perfectly into its course and has no need to adjust. The night stretches on without end and without intention, not because it is infinite, but because it has no markers, no boundaries, and no points of transition. There is no sense of waiting and no sense of arrival, only the continuation of this quiet state where nothing is required and nothing is expected. Darkness remains gentle and complete, holding the ship and everything within it without tightening or loosening its grip, allowing rest to remain deep and unbroken. The ocean continues to carry the Titanic forward, The air remains still, the ship remains at rest within motion, and the night continues doing exactly what it is meant to do. Breathing continues, stillness continues, the night remains.